Hello my supporters! I wanted to give you a little bit of an insight as to how discipleship on Soul Edge when I'm in New Zealand and discipleship on the XCC when I'm in New Zealand is going to work. Now, I'm up here in the Lake District with a team of 15 Rock UK employees, and we're in the mountains and we're using the mountains, we're using adventure to get the message of Jesus across. It's going to be beautiful. Now, we've had one day already. But yesterday on Monday, we decided to drive up to the Lake District, leaving at 4 p.m. and arriving in the car park before our hike at 1 a.m. Now I told people you need to pack a bag for 2 days, but leave your tents outside. So we got to the car park and everyone's asking me, when are we going to pack the tents? We've got to go, I've got to get my tent in my bag, who's carrying what? And I told them, leave your tent in your car. So they left the tent in the car and we had a little message, a little talk about how God calls us to follow him and to trust him into the unknown. And he says, trust me, I've got you, I've given you enough, follow me. He says that. He says it all the time. Now, that's what I said to the team. I said, follow me into the mountains, leave your tents behind, and we're going to be out for 2 days. So people are thinking we're going to be camping under a rock or in a cave or find some random quarry or just out on the grass and it's wet and it's cold. People are not excited. I'm not people's best friend. But we go for a hike. 1 a.m. we start. It's dark already, obviously. And 3.5 hours later, disaster strikes. A problem happens which I didn't plan, but it happens and it's perfect. And if you get to the end of this video, I'll show you what that is. But disaster strikes, and it was a perfect metaphor for how God says, follow me, trust me. He doesn't say it's going to be easy. He says things are going to go wrong, you're going to have suffering, but it produces character. But he still hasn't left you. That's what he says. So half an hour later, after this disaster strikes, we carry on walking and we find this. This is Mosedale Cottage in the Lake District. You can't get to it by car, you have to hike to it, but it's lush. It's got sofas inside it and everything. So we turn up, the team are happy, and the metaphor works. It started to rain and we're all building an altar on the top of this pinnacle. They don't know it yet, they're just building a big pile of rocks, and we're going to talk about idols and see what people's idols have got, what they've got putting in the way between them and God. I'm going to share about mine and how I had an idol of marriage and I elevated that and wanted that to be just, you know, I didn't even enter in my mind that God may have something else for me, singleness. I don't know if he has, but yeah, we're going to talk about that. They're going to build that, think about their own altars, and then we're going to push it off the side of the mountain down into the lake. Should be good.
Tear the idol down!
So this morning we woke up in the Bothy and it was raining, a horrible rain all around, but we spent the morning in peace. We spent the morning reflecting and being meditative inside our Bothy, thinking about all the things that God has brought up over the last couple of days. And then during the peace, during the quiet, I put down my Bluetooth speaker, my UE Boom, turned the volume up to max, and started playing this Irish song. I can't remember the name of it actually, but it goes. Flying off to Boston, whoa, and so on and so on. Hopefully you know the song. We started playing that song in the middle of our peace, in the middle of our quiet, in the middle of our meditation, and we started to talk about the things that rob our peace and the things that get us angry. So a lot of people were raising things like relationship breakdown or failure or different things. Maybe they're idols that they've raised up too high and that they don't really know how to deal with, things that get them angry, things that rob their peace. And then we discussed about the idols that people had raised and talked about the day before. Spoke about those and how so I'm like walking along this sketchy wet rock here, trying not to fall in the river, but I thought this was a nice place to do the video. Spoke about people's idols that people had mentioned, that maybe family members that they'd elevated too high and that they weren't willing to let go. or people had idolised their time and said, this is my time and I'm not letting go. Or some others had idolised status and position and wanted to fight for that and hold on to that. So then after we had this peaceful time, and then I ruined the peace with the Irish jig, we could try and cross this river now. Ruined the peace, turned the music off, and then spoke about how do we hand all of these idols, these fears, these things, how do we hand them over to God and just release it and get back to our peace, and to say that God is the one that brings us our strength. God is the one that brings us our peace and our joy, not our surroundings, something that we forget. So that was this morning, and now we're hiking up, as you can see, hiking up this valley, the beautiful stream and river and waterfalls. We're hiking up here to Grisdale Tarn, and then we're going to set up our tents for our next and almost final spiritual metaphor, which is going to be the biggest, so stay tuned. People probably are not going to like me after this one. So we have arrived now at our tent destination. It's at Grisdale Tarn, and the team is now putting up tents behind me. But before they set up their tents, I told them to take out a rock that they've been carrying since day one. They picked up a rock, they've been carrying it in their bag, and this rock, because we've been speaking mainly about how we can improve our own relationship with us and God, and how we can get rid of things in the way of us and God, and it's all about us and God, but actually God always talks about how our life needs to be always about God and people. Two greatest commandments: love God, love people. So we picked up this rock, been carrying it on our bags, and we took it out and said this rock basically represents people, and that we need to be serving people, loving people, going the extra mile for people, which is going to hurt, which is going to be an extra burden, but there's a joy in that. So I've told them set up their tents, and there's 16 of us, and then I revealed that we only have tent space for 14 people. So that means there's going to be at least 2 people up all throughout the night that are praying and watching over watching over camp. So our life is not just about us, but we need to be willing to get up in the middle of the night and start praying and sacrificing and serving for the people around us, not only our friends but our enemies as well. So yeah, at least 2 people will be up for an hour and a half each. We've got a rota, and hopefully the stars will be out and it won't be raining, but then we will have had a great night. So we will see you. In fact, it did rain last night. It was cold, it was wet, it was rainy, it was windy, it was everything. It was foggy. There was times where we couldn't see. There was times where people were wandering around in the middle of the night and getting lost. I was one of them, and feeling a little bit out of their depth and a little bit alone. But actually, it was incredible to see how God showed up. After people had got over their initial desire to lob their rock at me or to tear me limb from limb. In fact, I won't tell you what one certain member of my team said that he wanted to do to me when I told him he had to get up in the middle of the night, get out in the cold and the rain and pray for an hour and a half with no questions asked. But after that, after people got over that initial frustration and they took a hold of the challenge that had been set, God showed up. And although the surroundings was disgusting and horrible, their spiritual time, their spiritual life actually turned out to look a little bit more like this view behind me. And the puffing and wheezing and the pain and the horribleness actually left. And what was left was just a beautiful spiritual time. In fact, 3 of them came up to me afterwards and said that they were actually moved to tears through the people that God had laid on their heart to really dig deep for and to pray for and to serve for.
Nice.
Hey Matt, what's going on?
Why are you topless, Matt?
So it is 3 in the morning.
Gentle, Matt. Slowly.
Get him out of that hole!
Alright, take five. That's yeah.
Yeah, we got one out. We got one foot out.
Against
Also, yeah,
Bridget.
I'll
feel that.
Good.